On the audience, is that possible at this stage? There you go. Nice. Anyone want to yell out a question? Start with it. I was going to say the chap with the stripy shirt and the guy shirt.
I'm not sure if you answered it. What happened to the mixtape girl?
What happened to the mixtape girl? In real life, she was called Carrie with a K, and in the book, I had an idea that I was gonna start the name of every song. When you wrote the tape down, I started with 10,000 Maniacs, which was one, and then it spelt my address. This is how fucking desperate stroke hopeful we were, any people in the early 90s. I thought she was gonna listen to this tape, think there's some genius, made this tape. She was gonna see the address and she was just gonna show up in my house. So she never showed up. And I never spoke to her. I did, in the book, I staked her out at the thing, but I never actually did that. I saw her in a supermarket 2 years later, and I went up to her and said, look, I left a tape for you in there. And she had this vaguest recollection that I left the tape. And then I said, well, look, if you ever want to meet for a coffee, and this is the bravest thing I'd ever done. And she was like, oh, well, no, I go back to London tomorrow, forever. So there you go. That's what happened to the violin girl.
Since the book is autobiographical, are there a lot of people mad at you who recognize themselves?
That's a good question. The lady's saying, is there a lot of people mad at me? So I gave the book, the only people that read the book before it got put out were Kira, the main person, and my wife. So they were the only two. But Kira was the only one I was really worried about because she features she's the other central character really. And the fictional element is that I'd made up all the conversations, and she wasn't really, she was her, but she wasn't her. When you get inside a character, you start to write. So I was a little bit worried. And she read the book and she said, I forgot it was about me. She really liked it. She said, I forgot it was about me. And she said she recognized that it was a fictional version of her, but she really liked it. And she said, I wished we'd had this book 30 years ago when we had, there was no people with ME with books. So that was the main person, but nobody, like Vivian in the book was my girlfriend before the time of the book, and she's the only one that, she kind of comes across a little bit like a ghost. And I met her for coffee and she appreciated that. She said, yeah, there was a couple of things you wrote, that were, but I appreciate, I'm like the spectre of the past or something. She's an artist, so she got it. But I heard from another, I read from another author, like somebody, like big author, they said if you describe somebody in a book as beautiful, you can get away with anything. So if you notice, as soon as I introduce any character, well, mostly female character, I'm like, this person is beautiful, lovely, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, now I can write anything. I guess we've got time for maybe 2 more questions. The lady there.
Did you get in touch again with your American girlfriend, Jeanny?
With Jeanny?
Yeah.
I did get in touch with Jeanny. No, I've never been out of touch with Jeanny. Well, apart from the first 10 years. Jeanny's amazing. Jeanny's a good friend. I saw her just a few weeks ago in California, and I did all the Jeanny stuff when I was out there. And her husband was there, so it wasn't, it wasn't too awkward. I didn't do the sex scene, obviously. But Jeanny, it was, there was a bit of finality there because this was before the internet, and when I came back to Scotland from California, and we'd had that relationship, and it was very meaningful, and I thought about staying in America, but I realised I couldn't support myself, and I was going to be illegal, and so I had to come back home. And we said that we were going to write, but her house in San Francisco burned down, and so not only she moved house, but she lost all her addresses. So we were not in touch for 10 years after that. And it wasn't until she was in a record shop and she heard If You're Feeling Sinister playing, she was like, that's Stuart. And so we got back in touch that way. So yeah. So maybe one more and then we'll get on with the rest of the Popfest. Yes, sir.
My partner struggles with ME too, and she's been doing they think there's a lot of different medical things that might cause it. Did you ever find out exactly what was the cause of yours, or what?
Yeah, oh my God, this could be a whole separate section, but it's so interesting. It's me and Kira, my friend, we call it the condition that keeps on giving, because it changes all the time. It's so mysterious, you know. So you have this baseline chronic fatigue, but then all sorts of secondary stuff happens. I had a big. I don't think they've made that much progress in the 30 years, and I've only started looking back into it in the last 2 or 3 years in a big way. And I had a setback in November. I ended up in hospital again, and from that point onwards, I was doing some more research. I would recommend, there's a book called The Way Out of Chronic Pain by a guy called, I'll chat to you afterwards, but I feel that they're looking in the wrong place. They keep looking at the cells, you keep looking small, they need to look big. They need to look at mind, body, they need to look at the whole person. I think in a lot of cases, and in my case, you know, there's definitely something physically going on, but there's different aspects going on. So this is book, they're making a lot of progress with chronic pain just now, and the neuroplasticity of the brain, and how the body and brain learn how to keep pain in the body. And I always felt, well, that's what's happening with me. I've got this fatigue, I can't get rid of these symptoms. And so I think there's going to be some good progress that way. And I recommend this book called The Way Out of Chronic Pain by somebody Gordon. It's on Penguin. Okay, that's the best I can do just now. But I hope she's doing okay. Okay, I think that's